Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Jake, this is Nadia, this is Buddy, this is Sedona, and Babu is downstairs right now. Today we are talking about Barbie. Barbie, which is a film directed by Greta Gerwig, written by Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, and starring Margot Robbie. I was really looking forward to this movie. I thought that the trailers looked good. I like Greta Gerwig, so I was like, yeah, this will be fun. What I didn't expect was a movie so good that I'd be going, is this my favorite movie of the year so far?
Nuh-uh.
I legitimately and sincerely really enjoyed this movie. I'll get into why, but I think that it was just a solid piece of
film.
Entertainment that works. It's good.
Nothing was there that doesn't need to be there. It was very perfectly tight. 2 hours long. And it was so good. It was so funny. I didn't realize how much of a musical it was going to be towards the end, which kind of like hits you out of nowhere.
The sheer like love and care into like these sets and designs, and it was brilliantly made.
It didn't like at first it kind of felt like a consumerism type of film, but then at the end it didn't.
Well,
so
yeah,
it was so good. Margot Robbie was so good. I love the narrator, who says like some funny lines in the middle too that I can get into during spoiler section. I really loved what I thought was going to be Barbie and Ken and what it turned out to be, which I don't know if I can talk about it right now because it's really spoiler.
No. I mean, the movie takes a lot of different turns and it goes in places I really was not anticipating. It's commenting on patriarchy, on modern gender roles and all of that and what Barbie means to that. And it's a very complicated situation and movie, and there's a lot of mud and stuff you got to get through and figure out, and like I'm sure there's a lot that Mattel had to do with this movie. It's so weird, and it's a very complicated movie in a way that you could say Oppenheimer is a very complicated movie too. Certain moral issues of how do we address these things. Barbie is like, all right, we're giving this auteur filmmaker a product to make a movie. How much of her is in there? That's for you to say. I think that it came across as a very personal movie, despite it being essentially a commercial, dealing with and addressing the kind of anxieties about this toy. Yeah.
Society and the way that it's structured as well. And it was
absolutely.
It was so entertaining. I would give it 10 out of 10. What about you?
9 out of 10.
Okay.
But it's close to a 10.
Really,
I mean, it's
really high up for you.
It's just, it really tackles so many things. It's a really smart movie, and I know it's PG-13, and it's not really like for kids. I feel like kids would enjoy it. There were a lot of
kids there.
A lot of kids there, and they were entertained for the most part, but it was still kind of like a movie that you don't really see anymore, kind of like rom-com, fish out of water comedy. It reminded me of Elf in some ways, just like fish out of water situation.
Yeah.
Movies that people love and love to revisit, comfort movies. But there was clearly like so much like artistic thought put into everything, and that
the way that the set design was.
The set design, that includes the story, the way the themes hit. You know, your mileage may vary in terms of like the didactic nature of certain things and certain speeches, whatever. I thought it worked, you know, it was also sold well.
It was also like the character development and road mapping of both Barbie and Ken. Mm-hmm. What that means, how that has impacted people who play or who have played with them. And I really just honestly want to get into the spoiler because there's so much into it. Well, so why don't you talk about anything else?
Okay. I mean, before we get into spoilers, I will say like there are people who are going to be like, oh, do I want to see a Barbie movie? Or if you're a guy and you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm interested in it. Or, like, I do think that if you like comedies, if you like fun entertainment, if you like musicals.
If you like Will Ferrell.
If you like Ryan Gosling being fucking hilarious, like he's so funny in this movie. I mean, you're going to really enjoy this movie. And the thing is, like, it's not just a one-trick pony. It's not having one message. And I think that when we would talk about in spoilers, like there is a lot there for the Kens of the world. You know, it's a movie about identity and finding yourself, what that means in this society that's so fucked up. And it was very moving. And, you know, it's not like I played with Barbies as a kid. It's not, you know, like there's a lot that wasn't made for me, but it feels like a universal movie that
I
so
think
many
that
people could
Jake
enjoy.
wouldn't have watched it if I like didn't want to watch it, but then I think it's one of those movies when you watch it, you realize it's not necessarily specific to like people who used to play with like Mario. I think you felt like it was, you know, more nostalgia kind of thing.
Mario
This
is a
one-
movie that I think it doesn't really work as much if you aren't familiar with the
Yeah,
playing
exactly.
with it.
Whereas this one, it works either way, I think. And
I think so, yeah.
yeah, and I think you should just like really go watch it. And you know, I really want to also see like and hear about your opinions if you don't like it. Just because we both seem to like it very much, that it would be interesting to see different
I just
points of
can't,
view.
yeah, and the thing is, like, it's gonna win me over if it's funny. Like, it's just,
It was nonstop funny, but it was also like
but also
it
like
was-
physical humor, gags,
Yeah.
like going back to
And
old
it kept-
school, like
it didn't feel like it dragged on at all. It didn't feel like they were like the beat kept moving in a very steady pace.
yeah. I walked out of the theater going like this. Even though it's a movie about a product and we've seen those before, I was like, the design, the direction, the right, it felt so new and fresh. And I think that's why people are going to the movies, because they can tell in the commercials, they can just tell with the vibe of this movie, like this is something new. And it absolutely is. It's sort of like a throwback to these great movies we love, but it's totally its own thing. And I'm excited to watch it again.
Yeah, me too. Spoiler.
Let's do spoilers.
3, 2, 1, spoiler.
Spoilers.
So you think like when you think about Barbie and Ken, you think like, okay, they're gonna be like, they're like a cute couple, boyfriend and girlfriend. But then really like Ryan Gosling's character Ken, one of the Kens, really depicts himself in the beginning and throughout as a creepy person, because he keeps kind of like harping on to Barbie, like basically her approval is his own world, and when he doesn't get that, he gets very controlling. So it's kind of like a lot of like it's really abuse masked in like charm, and I think it depicts it very beautifully towards the end. And until he is able to really cry it out and kind of like really show that all of these insecurities and his actions are because he's insecure inside. And so he has self-awareness moment. I did kind of feel a little iffy about that part, because I'm like, I don't know if you're making like excuses, because, you know, he completely makes Barbie homeless, takes over the world into, you know, kind of like, he does a lot of like dictatorship kind of stuff. So making excuses, I was like, I don't know. But I did think it worked pretty well.
I just like it when they're like, well, where do the Kens usually sleep? And Barbie's like, I don't know. And I think I think Greta Gerwig maybe said this, or I don't know where I read this, but someone was talking about Barbie Land as a kind of like Garden of Eden, and how it's really like a morality play on like evil being like this original sin of this like patriarchal thing nesting into,
they don't have knowledge
nesting into a pure world, and it spreads like this virus, and they talk about like, well,
and you can see that through actions too, like when like Ryan Gosling's Ken is kissing Barbie, he's kissing the air, and Margot Robbie is just kind of like sitting there, you know, and they don't sleep together. They don't have any kind of one of those scenes. They're dressing up with a lot of innocence in mind, and not like, you know, with the ideology or idea of like, I'm trying to sexualize my body. It's just more so like, I like this clothes, so I'm going to wear it. And really, all of that really gets penetrated by our society and our point of view.
Well, I love how that it ends without them coming together. Like,
no, exactly. And that's what I mean when I said it's not typical Barbie and Ken. I also thought the musical at the end was great. Like, so, you know, if you've seen the movie, we're not going to summarize it because we assume that if you're here, then you've seen the film. But when Barbies have the plan to basically take the world back by getting the men to be against each other, then it's funny how it breaks out into musical.
Oh,
but
it's so amazing. Yeah, it's so well done.
Thought it was funny when Ryan Gosling like goes to the real world with Margot Robbie's character, and then Ryan's character goes, I'm respected here. People like me. And he applies for a different job. And then, you know, back in Barbie Land, he goes, if it wasn't for NBA or qualifications.
or
I would have gone so far.
Would have gone so far.
That's a lot of people. But it was just really funny. And
someone asked me for the time.
Yeah, I was respected.
Wow.
People cared. It was just funny. And then also, it's funny how he thought horses had to do with like horses.
They were extensions of your maleness. And I love the play on just like the stereotypes of masculinity and femininity and how they have the mini fridges. Yeah, and all that stuff.
And then I love how when he goes to the beach to get a job interview and he goes, I
can't even beach here.
No, I can't even beach here because he is like, oh, do you want to be a lifesaver? It's like, I can't, I'm not qualified for that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, not a lot of people need help at the beach. And it's like, oh, right. And it's like, oh, good, because I couldn't help with that either.
Right. I was really amazed where the story went because I had this idea of like, we got the Barbie world and then they're coming into the real world. That's shown in the trailers. And I'm thinking it's going to be like Elf, the whole movie. Like she's going to have to learn to survive in the real world.
Very similar vibe though.
It is. But then they aren't in the real world very long. They go back to Barbie Land, and that's when the movie really exploded for me. And I was like, this is doing so many funny, interesting things.
And it was amazing how much Margot Robbie, how emotionally vulnerable she was.
She's amazing. Yeah.
She, when she was trying to look back at the memory of who played with her as a doll version of herself, and also at the ending when she wants to be human and she cries, and it was really touching.
No, it really hit the emotional beats. Yeah,
it would not have worked without the actors for sure. It was really good. Will Ferrell, he's like. He's
always good.
He's always good. It's a very typical Will Ferrell type of character.
Well, how did you?
How
did you feel about the corporateness of having the actual executives of Mattel, because they pull some jokes at their expense, like they're all men and they don't, So I feel like
I love that part where Will Ferrell goes, "I'm a son of a mother."
Nephew of an aunt.
Yeah, nephew of an aunt. It's just so funny. I think at the end he liked the idea of it, but I think I liked it because it shows just realism of how it's all portrayed and what it all kind of goes to.
That's good. I'm wondering how you feel about the ethics of clearly this is a movie being made by Mattel to make their brand look better, know. So all I'm saying is that there are people who are reviewing this movie and going, I don't like the ickiness of this is a corporate product and they're kind of making jokes and trying to be self-aware about it. But in my mind, I'm going at least they are being self-aware. Wasn't the Lego movie sort of self-aware? All of the big blockbuster movies, they're fucking products. They're selling products. They're connected to an IP. They're a brand. They're whatever. That's just part of, unfortunately, mega movies these days, except for the unique ones like Oppenheimer. In my mind, I'm able to watch it and go yeah, of course it's a product. They're trying to sell us stuff, but that's what all movies are doing right now. So the fact that they're able to make fun of it and crack some jokes at it and analyze the implications of that, I think that's good. And if they're able to make it funny,
I like that it acknowledged it, and I like that it, for example, acknowledged what Barbie represents, really a lot of times unattainable body, goals, look goals. And I also thought it was funny. This is when I meant in the non-spoiler section when I said the narrator was really funny, because there is a moment when Margot Robbie's Barbie is having a meltdown, and then she goes, "I am ugly now. I used to be attractive." And the narrator goes, "Note to directors: Margot was a wrong person to cast."
Yeah, if you want to make this point.
To make this point.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
I thought it was really funny because I thought that I was that's ugly.
No, I like it. Just the humor in this. It really. I mean, it has the human moments, and it really balances a really good story, and is very invested in Barbie as a character. But just the jokes. It's just this is what it felt like to me was Noah Baumbach, Greta Gerwig. They wrote this movie. It felt like they were going, and it's very different from the kind of usual stuff they make. Noah Baumbach did Marriage Story, Greta Gerwig, Lady Bird, So seeing them do something where they're hey, let's do frickin' Airplane, but with some heart, and Elf, and just kind of referencing. And I really feel why aren't you guys doing more of this? these big, comedies, because they're clearly so talented, and it works so well that it kind of felt like this releasing of energy of just like, let's just do whatever and have fun with it. And I think it worked so well.
Yeah, and I really like the ending of like when the Barbies become unbrainwashed, and then basically they take back their society, but with a little twist is that they're gonna do the inverse of how women are treated in real world. They're gonna treat men that way. So it's gonna be inverse. So basically like how we have women inequality here, it'll be men inequality there. So basically for if there's a problem with that in Barbie land, fix the real world, basically. Because if we meet equality gender-wise here, then we'll meet it over there, kind of thing. And it was just really well done. I really loved America Ferrera. She was really good. I really liked that. Like she had to keep like repeating all the unfairness that women have to go through in order for Barbies to be unbrainwashed, kind of like angered them out of what they were being told. And it's just like, it's really funny, and I loved how Ryan's Ken was telling all the other Kens, like, at first I thought that the horse was this, but then it was this. And then at the end when he has a breakdown, he goes, to be honest, I didn't want to do patriarchy anymore after I found out that horses
it wasn't about horses.
That's what got my interest. So anyway, I just thought all of that was really funny and very unexpected. Like I expected it to be very typical Barbie and Ken. They go on adventures together. It's about them, a love story. And I'm so grateful that it became from like the idea of Barbie and Ken to it's Barbie and it's Ken. Like they're two separate individuals, and whether they come together or not is completely depending on I guess your child's preference. And I love the ending when Margot's Barbie becomes real human, names herself Barbara, and then basically you think that she's gonna apply for a job.
She has all the families there, and they're like, you got this, you can do this. And I was thinking like, is she like doing an audition, is she having an interview? And then
she goes to the doctor, gynecologist.
So such a good
it was really funny. And I love like that part when they go to Venice, I think, beach, and then Margot's Barbie goes, by the way, I don't have a vagina and he doesn't have a penis. So like when people are hitting on her.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing movie. I loved it. I was really surprised. I actually really happy with it.
Yeah, I was really happy with it too. So let us know your thoughts, and we'd love to hear from you and talk to you guys soon.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.